Yep.
Okay, so let's just go ahead then and start with your dad's war injury. What happened to him? And go ahead and give us as much detail as you want.
Okay. My father was drafted to serve this country during Vietnam, and over there in Vietnam, he received a injury to his left arm, pertaining more to his elbow. There was a landmine that one of his fellow soldiers tripped, and he covered the explosion, or reduced the explosion for the rest of his squad, and took most of the blast himself. And as a result, the Vietnam, or the Army, claimed him to be 50% disabled. He had my mother tells me it's like some sort of metal implanted in where his left elbow was. It was so large to where it actually restricted the pivot of his elbow, and it stabilized his arm right there. He still had movement with his shoulder and with his hands, but I don't know if he had movement with his hand. That's really good.
That's what I was wondering, is if he was able to be a threat to the police from his injury in the war.
Oh, well.
Was he able to still work as a soldier? Was your dad still able to do and live a normal life with that hand?
The Army told him he could go flip hamburgers for McDonald's with his other hand. So they, I guess, claimed his other arm was useless.
Okay.
Other than that, forgot what I was going to say before that. But my father was just, he still carried me with his arm. He still drove. He still was able to do. He had some potential with his arm. Maybe he couldn't have a full grip anymore, but he could at least guide his hand and put some resistance from his forearm, and maybe. But the police, actually, the media, portrayed my father holding the weapon on the news in ways that his arm would not have let him. That's how they was addressing the public about my father, and that's another mistruth of the case. There were many, but also that day, like I said earlier, that I had to understand the fear of losing a life, and there's more to that. Like I knew how much it hurt to lose such strong love that my father and I had, and after that I isolated myself from the rest of my family, disconnected myself, just so I couldn't really form those feelings to lose them again, because I knew how much it hurt the first time. And I said earlier, the night that whenever I basically, I guess, overcame my starving ailment, it was an intense night with a vivid night and a lot of pain. But I isolated myself from them. Isolated myself from my sister, from my brother, from my mother. My sister recently did pass. I can't go back and spend the time with her that I knowingly took away. And I wouldn't even qualify to be a legal medical cannabis taker if I wasn't forced to witness this unjust event. I had post-traumatic stress, depression, insomnia, anxiety. I mean, the list goes on. The appetite, and just to stimulate my endocannabinoid system, to supplement, to get a better balance with my appetite, with my ability to forget, ability to relax. Cannabis helps with all that. about Gatewood? No.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Gatewood, he actually spoke on behalf of this unjust event. He was at the local courthouse in my county, and he spoke on honor of my father. And other than that, I don't even have a memory of Gatewood then, really. But I didn't really meet Gatewood, and I knew about him, and I always liked what he stood for. But it was maybe before I went to Arizona that I read a little bit of his book, Last Free Man in America, and got to know a little history about Gatewood and his connection with cannabis. While I was actually in Arizona, I tried to get in contact with Gatewood, but I didn't know his health condition was as bad as it was. And then after coming back to the state, I caught word of us having a hemp bill, and that may have been after his death, I'm not certain, but I know it was after his death where I caught word of the medical bill that we had. I actually contacted local lawyers in my community to see if they had any advice for how I should start kind of getting support for a medical bill here in Kentucky, and I started going to cannabis events that we had here in Kentucky. The first one that I was able to go to was a hemp seminar up in Lexington, and I seen members of Gatewood's family, a daughter of his, and perhaps even a wife of his. I didn't speak to them at that event though. And recently, at the press conference for the pre-announcing of the Gatewood-Galbraith Medical Marijuana Memorial Act of 2013, I did get to meet two of his daughters and one of his wives, or I guess his only wife, and it was an honor to finally meet them. It was an honor, or it was great for me to see them still supporting this movement even after he is unfortunately gone, and on both ends of the spectrum, for hemp and for medical.
On that right there, knowing what you know now about Gatewood, what do you think the future of Kentucky and cannabis is now that Gatewood's gone?
Well, now that Gatewood's gone, I think he has influenced many in this state. He has opened a lot of doors. I know before he was active, marijuana was still a very, very taboo subject. I mean, my father got murdered because of it. This is how taboo it was. After many of his campaigns, though, public opinion has changed, and more Kentuckians are supporting this change, this rightful change in our wrong policy, our illogical, just wrong on so many levels policy. The future of Kentucky, it's a hard future if things don't change federally. Kentucky has a very bad voting turnout. We have a very bad community support, and these things have to change if Kentucky's going to get serious about changing legislation. I do think Kentucky can do it. I do know the steps to come will be this medical bill, will be maybe a medical research bill, like addressing using cannabis as a method to reduce black market for pain medications and abuse of prescriptions. And just as a safer alternative for any drug, alcohol, tobacco, or anything. I think Kentucky needs to do this research because we have some of the highest cancer rates, and just the list goes on with that too. But this needs to happen. Oh.
Anything else that you want to add about your dad at all? Or maybe your future in Kentucky cannabis activism? Totally up to you. You don't have to.
Mm-hmm. Well, my future here is still undecided. There is, of course, there's offers in legal states that's tempting me to leave Kentucky for a few months. And after I do what I can in my district and in my community to raise awareness of the need to change this policy and that this policy actually exists and we can actually pass this in Kentucky if we just get out in our communities and actually get the word out there and make them contact their local representatives.
That's perfect. That's great, man. I think we can wrap it up, man. We should. You just gave us an hour, bro. My bad, man.
I go on and on.
Oh no, that's not you. I mean, I would normally just move on, but man, you got so much story to tell. So
yeah, I mean, there's still more.
It's great. Oh, that's
horrible.
That's why I'm thinking. It's your own documentary time, man. I guess we got to do. I appreciate it, bro. Really good.
I think it's
I'm definitely awesome.
You always do a wonderful job.
Thanks, because it doesn't really seem like it.